Hi, iHeartRadio Canada. Here is Shannon, here with Bear. So good to talk to you. I'm such a fan of your music, so I'm stoked to have this conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, congratulations on the album coming out. That's so exciting. Cave, September 15th. How are you feeling leading up to the release? Do you still get nervous, or at this point, when you're like 9 albums deep, does that kind of go away?
No, there's some nervousness there. I mean, I think I'm in a healthier place than I was when the first record came out. You know what I mean? And in the sense of like, I don't feel like I feel really proud of the record, regardless of what the response is. But I would say I'm still curious of what the response is. You want to see what people, what songs people like and what they identify with, and yeah. So there's definitely an excitement to it that hasn't been lost for sure.
Yeah, take me into the house in Utah when you all go there and you go to write. What did your days look like? How did that experience go for you?
It was pretty. I mean, we didn't leave the house. We went in two different places, Utah and Minnesota, and yeah, it's kind of like the Van days when we first started the band. You're with the guys all the time, so you end up talking late night, kind of like game planning. Where's everybody at? And I think now that we've grown up a little bit, it's nice to go somewhere isolated like that. We're not on our phones a lot. You know what I mean? It's we kind of get to know each other again, just where we're at today, and then it's just full on dive in and so we'll do like a week at a time and be absolutely exhausted at the end. And so yeah, it's our little garage band way of making records still.
Yeah, totally. What do you need in a studio like situation, or like what do you need the vibe to be in order for you to create good music?
I think we've gotten better at that over the years, because it really is not about the space necessarily. Obviously, it's helpful to have a nice, we were in Utah, we're like these windows, we're looking out over the mountains covered in snow. It's like beautiful. And so that helps. There's no doubt. But really, it's more about the culture. It's what the toughest thing about being in a band is ego, obviously. And so I think most bands probably struggle with that idea of like, whose idea was it? Everybody wants to take of that, and then they get hurt feelings if you're not doing what they want to do. I think where the band is now, there's a really open space for ideas, and we give them time and we're respectful. And at the same time, if it's like nobody likes that idea, we're like grown up enough to move on. I think that's really key to the sort of creative process now. It's just having a place where everybody can say their opinion and chase it down, have the time to do it.
Yeah, I can imagine that can be tough though, to like you come to the band with an idea and then everyone kind of just says like, no, we don't like that. Like we're gonna do
Yeah.
something else.
I mean, the nature of every musician and writer is insane. If they don't know it, then they are. Like we know it. I mean, you're putting your deepest feelings in these songs, and the ideas of where you want the music to go. And our whole thing has always been like, if it's going to be a band, it needs to be a real band. Like I look back at Led Zeppelin or somebody, you think about like, what would Led Zeppelin be without one of the members? Like, it's just not the same thing. So I feel like that's important to us, like to get in the same room and everybody get a chance to speak into it and add what they add. And what ends up happening is these little bits of ideas get built on. And that's where the beauty, because you get to the end, you're like, I don't even know who had that first idea or how we got here, but we got to something collectively. And that's probably my favorite part about being in a band.
Yeah, you can really see that too in like the documentary that you guys made about the creating of Caves. You can see that there is influence from each member that is contributing to like this project and make it all this piece of art. And I think it was you that said it in the documentary when you were talking about making the album, where you said some of these songs are like, these songs are the best written songs that you've had. What is it about these songs that makes you say that?
I think they're the purest form of what we were trying to say. I think we're from a small town band from South Carolina, right? So we always had a chip on our shoulder about what it is we were doing. Like we felt like we didn't belong. We needed to make everybody know that we belong. And I think there's an element to that we've gotten over in a kind of a beautiful way. So I think listening to the album back is the first time I really noticed like there's no ego in here, and that's what makes the songs kind of the most pure form of what we're trying to say. Like there's something in the song that we connected to at the beginning. Let's make sure everything that we do after that point like aligns with that, and so that hopefully people have that same feeling as we did. And I did feel like that, just like, and we've gotten better. This is our ninth record, like I think we are better at writing songs and understanding what it is that gets us going about it. And it's equally as dangerous and scary as it is like, confident. So yeah, I think we had songs that we knew this is the subjects we want to talk about. This is the way we want to do it. This is the kind of music we want to make on this record. Now let's go not get in the way of it.
Right. Yeah. That being said, did you have like a full idea of what you wanted the album to sound like going into it? And then did it end up sounding like that?
Yeah, I think there was some mixtures of things we wanted to do on the record. We wanted to go back to a little bit more, live band sort of drums and bass and guitars, kind of like, let's make the songs out of that first. And then, we also were like, let's make this the biggest record we've heard in the sense of like sort of old school classic records. Like I think of like the Oasis records or, Aerosmith or whatever. It's like back in the day when they had the budgets to spend on those kind of songs. Like if the song needs strings or we feel like that adds to the emotion of it, let's use it and let's put the choir on there and let's go all the way. So yeah, that was a conversation we had probably first day in the studio. It was like, look, the door is in front of us. Let's like walk right through the middle of it instead of like bumping our shoulder on the way. You know what I mean? Let's just make the thing the thing.
Yeah, that makes me more excited for the album too. Also because I do love your live albums too. So any sort of like extra live aspect I feel like to it just add to the value, which is wild that you can say that this is like the best work that you've done too, because you had such success with the albums that you've had in the past. So that's incredible. What makes you keep going? Because I feel like you've even said it yourself that like bands can come out with 4 albums and then they're like, okay, yeah, we're good. But you guys just like keep going and keep going after that, keep chasing it.
I think, and there's a couple of reasons, but the biggest thing I think is that we keep seeing something out there in front of us. Like it's the minute I listen to the record, I'm like, oh, I think I know what I want to do next, so we still have the inspiration to kind of like put pen to paper. I also think that we make music for different reasons now. There was always a part of like thinking of who the audience is and will they like this and all that. And I feel like we've kind of left that behind. Like we're making this now, you know what I mean? Like I would say, without getting too heavy, it's like, I think of the creation is like my offering to God. This is the best I can do right now. This is all that I've been given, And so there's a real, I don't know, piece about that. You know what I mean? You feel like, so I don't think I could live life without doing that, going through that. I feel like that's why I was put here. So I think we all kind of enjoy the creative process, more than we ever have. And the power of that is that, we talk about this all the time. The audience really is the co-author of this. Mm-hmm. They hear the songs and then they apply their stories and circumstances to it. And that's where the music, I feel like the audience owns it after we've made it.
Right.
And there's a freedom in that. It's like, I don't know what the audience is going to say about this stuff. Like we're doing our best from our small perspective. And then seeing it kind of take off is a lot of the fun part. And we're surprised by it every time.
Yeah. I think the best part about that too is like the fact that you said you don't necessarily make it for the fans. If you making it for yourself, I think gives it that extra level of like authenticity that then the audience is going to relate to and the fans are going to love probably even more because of how true it is to you. So you still get that from the fans.
Yeah.
Right?
And music is powerful in that way. It's like, it's different languages and different cultures and different belief systems and all that. Like concerts are still the place where you could like, it's hard to tell, what a person is or who they are by being there. And that's like an incredible thing. Like if we live in a world, it's like so divided online and all those other places and politically and everything else. And the fact that people can get together and like get along and enjoy a concert together is still really beautiful.
Yeah. I read something the other day that said like concerts, especially nowadays, are just a place that you can go that people around you can just be like crying and being emotional and no one cares. Like everyone is there to experience this thing. And we like, there is a lot of unity in that. And I think, that's why concerts I feel like are even bigger than before nowadays too.
Yeah. I definitely think that. I feel like the bands that are good live and create that experience are the ones that are going to survive right now. And I think it's because that people are desperate for it. I mean, we're more disconnected than ever at home, so like going to this communal place to enjoy is really special.
That being said too, like having opened for Taylor Swift, for example, how do you feel like now seeing her where she's at in her career more than 10 years later, like just at the top of her game, doing her thing?
I mean, it's incredible. I was, I told somebody the other day, it's like, I don't think people realize how big she is, but in some ways they don't. There's just not a metric for it. I wasn't alive when the Beatles were around, so I don't know, but that's kind of the level it is. It's crazy. And obviously I think that's cool. I think people can kind of put aside their differences and whether they, like the new record or the old ones or whatever it is, like she has found a way to bring those people together, which is cool.
Yeah, it's like a full movement. It's wild. What do you hope fans take away the most from this next album?
I don't know. honestly, I think I hate to think that I've always approached the songwriting like we're not teachers. That's not what we do. It's like it's not we have this guidebook of how to live life and we put it in there. It's so much more our own experience, and you don't know. It's all vulnerable and true, but like, what are the things that are going to be universal in the way that people react to it? That's kind of the fun part of this thing, is to kind of see what those are. And all we have is our experience. So that's what we're talking about. So yeah, I don't know what I necessarily hope they take away. We always say, inspiration is probably what we want people to leave with, whether that's a concert or whatever. And whether that's like, to love, their significant other more, or their kids more, or they want to play music, or it like in their career they found joy in it, like whatever those things. I mean, obviously you want to be putting something positive in the world in that way. And so I hope that the music does that, makes people feel seen, and heard.
Totally. Yeah. You see that a lot too in like the comments that you get, which I'm assuming also like the DMs that you get, where people talk about how certain songs of yours represent like different milestones in their life, like their wedding or like having a child. Are there certain like messages or comments that you get from fans that like hit you harder than others, or like ones that really mean the most?
Yeah. I mean, it's I would say, I mean, the band kind of knows that we say like people live their lives to our songs, and that's what we mean by that, and that's such an honor and not something that we deserve anyway. And so when you see it come like face to face, that's to me probably when we had somebody at a concert last week. A friend of hers sent a message to us. Her husband had died the previous year. He was literally helping someone on the side of the road and got hit.
Wow.
And they played one of our songs at the funeral, and she was going to be coming to her first concert, and they both were fans, and we were able to make a moment of it at the show and like bring her up. And that, I mean, the entire band's crying, can barely play. It was that, you know what I mean? It's because, and the truth is we're all humans and we all go through those kind of devastating things, and that, in a lot of ways, that brings us together. And the fact that we play like some role in that is incredibly humbling.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what a gift to be able to have to then bring people together in that way. That's incredible. Fair. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat. It's been so nice to talk to you. Looking forward to the album. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.